You could be forgiven for not recognising this haunting, Eastern-sounding call. In fact, it's part of a Christian festival, and it's just one of the unusual things that make the islands of Sicily so different from the mainland. This is an annual sea festival, a chance for communities whose livelihoods and lives depend on the vagaries of the sea to offer thanks to the benign Madonna of Light who watches over them. The Aeolian Islands are famously beautiful, but really they're just a string of volcanoes, and for generations people here have struggled with this harsh environment to produce distinctive wines born of adversity. The vines that grow at the foot of these perilous volcanoes, like the famous Etna, draw their character from the rich volcanic soil and semi-continental climate. As the last of this year's Passito grapes dry on the slopes of Etna, the Sciglio family, like many others throughout the region, are preparing a special feast. Every year they mark the end of the harvest with a special Thanksgiving, a mixture of food, wines, and Sicilian entertainment. There's a lot about these islands that intrigues me, and I've come here to get a flavour of the culture and its unique food and wine. I'm going to the island of Salina in search of one thing in particular, a wine that was something of a cult in the late 1970s, just as I was starting to write about wine. The wine is Malvasia delle Lippari, an intensely sweet dessert wine made with a blend of red and white Malvasia grapes, harvested and left to dry in the sun to make them even sweeter. Salina is now almost entirely covered by Malvasia vines, a bit of a miracle considering that 50 years ago production had shrunk to just a few bottles. The man who accomplished this turnaround was a larger-than-life painter from northern Italy, Carlo Hauna. He came to Sicily in the 60s and found that the island provided him with a liberating new canvas in more ways than one. Carlo Hauna died in 1996, but he left a flourishing winery in the care of his 4 children. I met his son, Carlo Jr., tasting Malvasia in a rainstorm. Can I taste your Malvasia Passito? I remember when this wine was very famous in London. Thank you. A lovely colour. Sort of smells of almost orange marmalade. Got a little burnt taste at the end. Not quite as intense as I remember it. I suppose this wine means a lot to you.
La cosa curiosa della nostra azienda è che mio padre...
The most extraordinary thing about our Malvasia is that in the 1960s, my dad was keen on everything but wine. During that time, he saw farmers living here, doing what we eventually ended up doing ourselves, harvesting their grapes and putting them out to dry. He became fascinated with the process. He was always curious and loved to experiment and try new adventures. Step by step, we replanted and restored the vineyards, cloned old Malvasia plants, and after 30 years, we are producing for the whole world market.
Quasi 30 anni avere un'azienda e a produrre Malvasia, direi, in tutto il mondo.
I went with Carlo Jr. for an island tour on, what else but a Vespa, the very same one he bought as a teenager. Local feeling is that Carlo Hauna and his Malvasia have been the saviour of the island's fragile economy, and his son is now ramping up production by 20% a year. But since the charismatic painter's death, I feel that the wine itself may have lost a bit of its passion. Among the fishermen, however, passion is not in short supply. The image of the Madonna of Light is emerging from her usual church home for the annual Sea Festival. Although the festival is now a magnet for tourists, for local people it's a deeply felt event. And for those who've left their homes in search of livelihoods abroad, it's a time to return to their roots. It's a special honour, passed down from father to son, to carry the Madonna from the church to the waiting boat. But the highlight of the festival is yet to come. The Madonna, painted after an 18th century vision, will be taken by boat across the harbour to renew her blessing and protect the fishermen from danger for another year.